really shouldn't make this video because everybody's making too many videos and conversations going all over the place. With this Ad Johnson guy did another video, and I listened to the first minute or two, and it was just so annoying. I just, forget it. I'm just not letting his accusations sit out there. So, one more round.
Okay, we're going to do a little video here about Gary's misconceptions. Number one, he doesn't understand the difference between a subject and an object, even though he himself has said before that there's a difference between a rock and an animal, or a rock.
Yeah, well, that doesn't have anything right. I can distinguish between things, and I gave my definition out of the dictionary of what I mean when I use the word objective, which means separated from subjective bias. Okay, so that's our problem right there. You want to play some stupid games where objects analyze subjects and subjects aren't objects because that's stupid. But anyway, look, the catch to our existence, as I explained, is that we have this brain that's possessed by a gorilla. Gorilla owns it, a subjective owner. Alright, but the intelligence is capable of doing abstract thinking that isn't connected to the personal interest. We can evaluate situations. We can watch, we can be a referee at a soccer game, and we can detach ourselves from some personal wish that one team wins or the other team wins, and just do our job, okay, as assigned by the logic or the rules or the principles or the discipline. We can discipline our intelligence and separate it from our personal ambitions, desires, preferences, prejudices, all of that crap. Whether we like chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream, we can do tests and evaluate and attempt to say in some objective way, from some independent, unattached perspective, which is which.
And a person, or a planet and a squirrel that can feel. The difference is subjects are objects that can feel. Objects are just objects. They can't feel. They don't have any
now you've done a third definition, because other philosophers will just say that no, subjects are anything being analyzed by an object. A subject is the subject of analysis. But regardless, like I said, these distinctions are stupid. The dictionary is pretty damn clear what objective means, and what it means is it's independent of personal subject biases.
Consciousness whatsoever, any feeling of pain or pleasure. Subjects are objects which also have a consciousness and can feel pain or pleasure. Okay, now we're going to go to numbers.
Yeah, and theoretically an intelligence could exist without being part of a biological product. It is not impossible for us to imagine that technology could advance to a point where there could be an intelligence that wouldn't be owned by a subjective gorilla. Alright, a processor that just processes facts, gleans evidence, information, and processes the information without needing to be subjectively interested.
2. Gary doesn't understand that there's no such thing as an intelligence of an object. I don't know when the fucking last time he went outside and was talking to a rock about how intelligent the rock was, or he was fucking having a conversation with a pool of water because the pool of water was a fucking brain.
Well, look, theoretically, right now, I'm talking to a mechanical device. You have a blank screen. All you are is digitized information. You're not a real person. You're a delayed person. I'm listening to you hours, days, perhaps after you uttered these words. So, I mean, in a way, we are already achieving an interaction that is quite separate from our subjective reality.
It's not a fact. Subjects are the only things that can have intelligence. In order for something to be intelligent, it is a subject.
Yes, so far. All right. Yeah. How long have we had electricity? 100 and what years? Come on. Get with the program here. There's no obligation, theoretically, for intelligence to be possessed by a bigoted animal. And there's no reason, theoretically, why bigoted animals that are possessed by intelligence, real intelligence, rich vocabulary, conceptual intelligences, can't step above their personal interest and observe a reality and describe that reality in an objective manner without letting their personal desires influence the outcome. There's no rule against it. It's not easy, but there's no rule against it.
In order for an intelligence to recognize value, it has to be a subject recognizing value. That's why values are subjective.
Why? Why does it have to be a subject? All it has to be is an intelligence. Shit.
Rock will never care about any kind of conception of morality that a subject might have. The planet won't really care, ever.
Right, and a calculator can't do math. Of course it can. It can be programmed with the rules. All the brain has to, all an intelligence has to do is be programmed with the information. What is the system made out of? And then it can do the calculation.
About any kind of morality or value. The fucking stardust or the fucking meteor floating through space won't ever care about any kind of values or morality.
Again, I mean, I made it explicit in my video. Explicit. So you're just playing games here. I made it explicit that the universe has no consciousness. It has no intelligence. It therefore cannot make any judgments. Yet you'll just keep coming back to this argument as if somehow it matters that there's an object viewing a subject. For a subject to be involved in a value circumstance.
The fact that morality and values depend on subjects is obvious at this point, and Gary has admitted almost exactly the same thing several times in the past, including several times in his own.
What are you playing this stupid asshole game for? I mean, you're going to sit there. This isn't a straw man even. This is just a bold misperversion, grotesque misperversion of somebody else's words. You use the word misunderstanding here, and then you'll misconceptions, and then you'll sit there and play this game that he's already admitted. Well, obviously I haven't admitted any such fucking thing.
Own response videos to mine. Alright, here you go. You ready? I'm going to give you a quote of you, like you ask people to do.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's going to be right in context.
It's inevitable because there's a plus and there's a minus. There's a right, there's a wrong, there's a good, there's a bad. Matter doesn't have that aspect to it. Raw, crude matter. It only something that is capable of being harmed can create value in the universe. That's the only way to generate value. Something has to implicate something capable of being fucking harmed.
Did you see how he said that sentience is the only thing that can create value in the universe? That's the only thing that subjectivists are arguing.
No, your subjectivists are arguing the only thing that can evaluate value is a subject. That's what you're arguing, asshole. I'm talking about the evaluation, the calculation of value. Yes, a sentience creates value. Okay, they're the one that make value. Alright, it's an intelligence that does the evaluation, that does the fucking math, you fucking cunt.
The existence of value depends on the existence of the subject. The subject
Again, no, it depends on the existence of something capable of feeling pain. It does not need to be something capable of understanding pain.
A conscious entity that can feel. There is no value in objects, non-conscious objects like rocks. Rocks can't value.
Duh, exactly. No, they can value, they can't, well, if they're built into a computer, then they can make an evaluation. Again, there's a difference between the thing that creates the value and a thing that, there's a better word for it, equates the value, judges the value, apportions the value.
Stars can't value. Planets don't really value anything. We know this.
Recognizes the value. That's the key word. That's the one I needed. Alright, there's a difference between the thing that creates value and the thing that recognizes value. acknowledges value, discovers the existence of the value, describes the value.
Gary's admitted this. That's what I'm saying. Subjects can feel. Subjects.
And what you're saying is that only subjects can acknowledge the existence of value, and that the value can only exist when a subject acknowledges the value. And my argument is you need no subject to acknowledge it, and what you do need to understand it is an intelligence.
Can have values, and subjects can have morality. That's why morality is subjective. Now, the only reason Gary has a problem with this...
Again, morality only makes sense in the complete context. A morality is a description of the oughts. You can't have the ought unless you have done the math. You have finished the equation to some satisfactory level. So it's the conclusion.